The vastness of Finland's Lapland is nothing short of breathtaking. As far as the eye can see, it is covered in a blanket of white snow, with tall pine trees majestically standing guard over frozen lakes. It's also one of the most isolated regions on Earth. And so if you were to find yourself in the area and needed help, your chances of finding it would be slim to none, because there are only around 20,000 people living in this enormous space. During the winter, the sun barely peaks above the horizon, meaning that from late November to the end of January, the region experiences near constant darkness. It's called polar night, and for those who live there, it can get pretty depressing. In fact, some people get so down they vanish into the snowy wilderness, never to be seen again. The only evidence that they had ever been there at all is a set of cracked ice on a frozen lake and some black feathers. Locals say it's the work of Noita-Kräähkä, the witch crow, that calls its victims by name. She lures them out into the snow with promises of warmth and comfort. But once she has them, there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Because her eyes are keen and her wings are wide enough to envelop her prey and suffocate them before taking off into the dark sky. I am your host, and you are listening to This Thing Calls You by Name. But it's not human. Join me today as we explore the dark corners of Finland's Lapland and uncover the truth behind the legend of the terrifying witch crow. As the cold northern wind sweeps across the barren Finnish landscape, it carries with it the haunting cries of the witch crow, also known as Kräähkä. The bird's name translates to witch crow in Finnish. In Finnish folklore, she is a shapeshifter who can transform herself into a beautiful woman or even assume the form of a human loved one. But make no mistake, she is not to be trusted. The witch crow's true form is that of a massive bird with snow-white feathers and a beak like a farmer's bill. It towers over its victims, its eyes gleaming with an eerie light that pierces through the darkness. When it swoops down, its wings, beating the air with a deafening sound, fear grips the hearts of all who witness its power. But how does such a creature come to be? According to legend, the witch crow was once a beautiful young woman named Krista. She lived in a small village in Lapland with her sister Anneli. The two sisters were inseparable, spending their days singing and dancing in the snowy fields. But Krista was also vain and selfish. She would spend hours combing her long, flowing hair, making sure every strand was perfect. And she would dress in the finest clothes, adorning herself with expensive jewelry. Meanwhile, Anneli was more humble and kind-hearted. She spent her days helping others and never asked for anything in return. But Krista despised her sister's generosity and would often mock her for it. One day, Krista decided to visit a nearby lake to collect some water from its frozen surface. She planned to use the water to wash her face and make her skin even more beautiful. But as she approached the lake, she saw a strange sight. A beautiful woman was standing in the middle of the ice, beckoning for Krista to come closer. Krista couldn't resist the woman's mesmerizing gaze, and she soon found herself walking towards her. The woman smiled warmly at Krista and introduced herself as a fairy. She told Krista that she had been watching her from afar and had been impressed by her beauty. The fairy offered to give Krista a magical ring that would make her even more beautiful than she was before. Overjoyed, Krista accepted the ring and put it on her finger. But the fairy warned her that the ring came with a curse. If Krista ever revealed the ring's secret to anyone, she would turn into a horrible bird and lose her beauty forever. Krista, blinded by her vanity, didn't listen to the fairy's warning and returned home, eager to show off her new treasure. She paraded around her house, showing the ring to anyone who would listen. And soon, the whole village knew about her new beauty. When Anneli heard about the ring, she went to Krista's house to confront her. She begged her sister to take the ring off and break the curse before it was too late. But Krista refused, saying that she couldn't bear to part with something that made her so beautiful. Enraged, Anneli cursed her sister, calling her a selfish witch, and in an instant, Krista felt the curse of the ring taking hold of her. Her body began to shrink, and her skin turned scaly. Feathers sprouted from her arms and legs, and her face became sharp and angular. With a final screech, Krista transformed into the witch crow and flew away, never to be seen again. From that day forward, the witch crow roamed the frozen wastelands of Lapland, preying on unsuspecting travelers who dared to venture into her domain. She used her hypnotic call to lure her victims away from the safety of their groups, and then she would swoop down and carry them off into the sky, never to be seen again. One day, the witch crow's keen eyes spotted a young woman named Seimo walking along a frozen lake. Seimo was beautiful, with long flowing hair and skin as white as snow. The witch crow knew she had found the perfect vessel for her return to human form. So she swooped down and transformed into a beautiful woman with flowing locks and piercing blue eyes. She introduced herself as Mary and quickly gained Seima's trust. Mary invited Seima to her home, where she fed her delicious food and made her feel welcome. But all the while, Seima couldn't shake off the feeling that something wasn't right. She couldn't help but notice that Mary's eyes seemed a little too sharp and her smile a little too wide. One night, Seima woke up from a nightmare and couldn't fall back asleep. She looked over at Mary, who was sleeping peacefully beside her, and noticed that her face was pale in the moonlight. Suddenly, Seima remembered the stories of the witch crow and the warnings of the locals. Could it be that Mary was the witch crow in disguise? Terrified, Seima jumped out of bed and ran to the window. She looked down and saw a pair of white wings flapping furiously as a large bird tried to take flight. With a start, Seima realized that Mary was indeed the witch crow. She had used Seima's kindness and hospitality to lure her into a false sense of security. Seima quickly fled her home, knowing that the witch crow would be after her now that she had discovered her true identity. She ran through the snowy forest, the witch crow's haunting cries echoing behind her. Just when she thought she had escaped, the witch crow appeared in front of her, blocking her path. With a swift movement, the witch crow transformed back into her human form and confronted Seima. She taunted Seima, reveling in her fear and promising her a fate worse than death. But just when it seemed all hope was lost, Seima remembered the warning the locals had given her. She knew that the witch crow could only be defeated with the help of a special amulet. With newfound determination, Seima raced towards the nearest village. The witch crow closed behind her. As she stumbled into the village, she spotted an old woman sitting by a fire. This was the village elder, and she was known for her wisdom and knowledge of ancient magic. Seima fell to her knees and begged for the amulet that could defeat the witch crow. The old woman handed over the amulet, a small pendant made of silver and adorned with a single sapphire. Seima clutched the amulet tightly and turned to face her pursuer. The witch crow stood before her, her eyes blazing with fury. But when she saw the sapphire pendant around Seima's neck, her expression changed to one of fear. With a final screech, the witch crow transformed back into her bird form and fled into the sky. Seima had defeated the witch crow, but she knew that the battle was not over. The witch crow would be back, and she would need to be prepared. From that day on, Seima became known as the hero of the village, and the locals honored her for her bravery and quick thinking. They celebrated her victory over the witch crow with a grand feast, and she was showered with gifts and praise. But Seima knew that the true victory was her own personal growth. She had faced her fears and overcome them, and that was a reward in itself. So what do you think? Is there any truth to the story of the witch crow? Or is it just a scary folktale meant to keep people away from the frozen wastes of Lapland? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and join us next time for more terrifying tales of the unknown. Until then, remember, some things are best left undisturbed. Don't tempt fate by seeking them out, because once you do, they may just call your name.